Tonight on Chronicle, there's a treasure hidden at the Dublin General Store.
When I have this stuff, which I'm privileged to have, we sell right out of it.
Panning for Mike's Greek gold, baklava.
I don't know, there's something about it, and maybe it is the love that's in it that puts it all together.
If you're looking for a sweet treat that is made with a bit of honey and a lot of love, you may want to try Mike's Greek Gold Baklava.
Yeah, big help, thanks, right. Mike Patinsky has been making it out of his Harrisville home for some time, and in recent years started selling it at a local store.
I've had it. It's to die for, no doubt about it. Tonight, Mike shows our Heather Hamill how he makes it and why it's so dear to his heart.
It is, that's correct. I started playing around with some recipes, and I was shocked how people, when I would bring it to a party or give it to someone as a gift, how much they really enjoyed it. I was shocked by it.
Mike Patinsky is talking about his baklava, a traditional Greek dessert that he's added his own flair to. He has been making it for about 6 years and says he just enjoyed it, never thinking it would be anything more than a hobby. But one friend always thought otherwise, and one night at a party, things started to take shape.
And we were at the party, and we were leaving, my wife and I, and this woman had left. 15 minutes she came back and said she forgot her piece of baklava. And I was shocked that she walked all the way back for one piece of baklava, and my friend Laura looked at me and she goes, "Do you understand now?"
Mike told her to come up with a name and he'd start marketing the sweet treat. With that, Mike's Greek Gold was born. For the past few years, he has sold it to the Dublin General Store, where they sell it by the piece. The owner says it was a no-brainer because with one taste, he was hooked.
When I have this stuff, which I'm privileged to have, we sell right out of it.
Mike still makes many batches for family and friends, but...
And now here in 2011, we seem to be focused on doing something more with it, and I'm sitting here with New Hampshire Chronicle, which is exciting, and this may be the beginning.
He uses the Dublin General Store for his orders associated with sales, but he still uses his own kitchen in Harrisville to whip up some for gifts.
Hope they enjoy it. What we're going to start with now is the first thing of nuts.
Mike grinds up pistachios and almonds along with the traditional walnuts, and he doesn't skimp on them, adding about 3.5 pounds. With a Greek mom, Mike grew up with baklava, but says his way is different than his mother's, especially the way she and his dad would prepare the nuts.
He would sit there, shell the nuts, because you couldn't buy them shelled or out of the shell. He would crack them, he'd pull the meats out, and she would sit there with a knife and chop them. So her process to make a baklava probably went 4 hours for a small tray.
He and his wife later gave her a grinder, like the one he uses. But as for his baklava recipe, that's his alone.
Now this is the spices and whatnot, and I will tell you there is sugar and cinnamon in here.
And for the secret ingredient? Not much of a secret if we were to tell you. In fact,
I don't even think my wife knows.
Oh well, at least he lets us in on the process. A lot of mixing, a lot of hand washing, and then the phyllo dough.
This is where it gets interesting.
Mike says the phyllo dough can easily stick together, and he always has a backup roll just in case. He also says you have to work fast because it hardens quickly. 7 layers on the bottom, each with a bit of butter in between.
And what I want to do is make sure that all my sides, that I'm building a bowl for the nuts and the honey to sit in.
And then the layers begin. Nuts, phyllo, nuts, phyllo. It ends up being a 4-decker.
We try to do is make this as even as possible.
So when he cuts it, there's no lopsided pieces.
But it's funny, people will ask me about the, oh, it's fattening or anything like that. And what I always tell them, I go, look, I know the bees that give me the honey, and I haven't seen a fat one among them.
And he sure sees a lot of them, judging by the amount of honey he has. He gets these large jars from a local man, and he thinks that makes a big difference.
The first time that I tried it, I used a commercial honey, and it was terrible. And then I met Mr. Miller and tried his honey, and I said, oh, no, this is where we're going with it. And so I think it's not only the honey, but where the honey comes from.
Honey isn't always what people drizzle over their baklava. In fact, Mike's mom never did.
What she used to use is on a slow fire, water, and just keep adding sugar and stirring to make a syrup. And then she would lay everything out and then just coat it. So what you had was something very gooey and very drippy. And sometimes it could be very tough to eat if she used a lot of the syrup. And the honey just seems to tie everything together.
So his recipe may differ from his mom's, but when it comes to baklava, it truly is a labor of love that started with her.
It also brings her into my house. And that's very important. Constantly. Yeah. Whatever I do, whether that or the spanakopita that I make, it's like at times I can hear her say, well, why are you doing it that way? You never did it that way before. Whether I was folding the phyllo and I'll have a conversation. Sometimes my wife gets a little concerned that who am I talking to? And I'll tell her Ma's in the house.
She passed away in 1999, having never tasted Mike's baklava. Little did she know that more than a decade later he would be selling the Greek treat at stores and online, packed in a specially labeled box with care. There's half-pound boxes like this one here. It's supposed to be 5 pieces, but Mike puts a 6th one in just for good measure, and the same goes for his 1-pound box with a total of 12. So far, he has shipped to at least 17 states and even overseas, and it seems everyone who tries it gives it rave reviews.
I don't know, there's something about it, and just maybe it is the love that's in it that puts it all together.
And just maybe, the memory of his mother.
I think, if there is a hereafter, she's looking down and chuckling.